Hello, and welcome to Cooking with Miss Michelle. Today we're filming in front of a live audience. I'm going to show you how to make fresh guacamole. It's very delicious and easy to make, and if you haven't made it before, I highly recommend that you try it. So for this project, we're going to need 2 to 3 ripe avocados. You'll be able to tell that they're ripe if they're dark, and they should give a little bit when you squeeze them. It should dent in a little bit under your finger. You don't want it to be too soft. And sometimes you can pull the stem off, and if it looks nice and light green, then it should be ready. You're also going to need some onions. Lime or lemon will work just fine. Garlic, tomatoes, fresh cilantro. If you want a little extra spice, you can add jalapeno or other chili, but if you don't like spicy, you don't have to have it. Salt, pepper, cumin powder, and chips for dipping. So before you start, you want to wash your hands and all of your produce. And I'm going to start by slicing my avocados in half. So you're just going to want to slice it from the long end to the bottom. And it should come apart easily. Now, you want to be really careful when taking the pit out. You never want to try to stab through, because I know some people that have stabbed through into their hand. So you could try a spoon. Whoops! And it should come out pretty easily. You can actually save the pit to try to grow later. Or if you don't want it, you can just compost it, but they're pretty fun to grow. And then if I just take a spoon and go around the skin, I should be able to get the inside out and put it into my bowl pretty easily. It's very important that you use ripe avocados. If you use ones that are too hard, they won't work. They won't be easy to get out of their skin, they won't mash, and they won't make very good guacamole. So if you're planning on making guacamole, if you know you're going to make it ahead of time, you might want to go to the store and just get some ones that aren't quite ripe yet, and then they should ripen within 2 or 3 days. If you go to the store and they have ripe avocados, you probably want to make it like the day that you buy it or the following day, because once they're ripe, they won't last for very long. Okay, so once I have my avocados in the bowl, I can use a fork or a potato masher to just mash these up. And they should mash up pretty easily. And you always want to use a bigger bowl than you need, so you don't spill your avocados out. And then once you start adding the ingredients, you'll have plenty of room. And if you're making a lot, you'll probably want to go with the potato masher. I'm just using 2 avocados, so the fork is just fine. Okay, so now I'm gonna add my lime. So I just want to slice this in half. I always want to make sure my fingers are away from my blade, so I can either put them way over here, or if I put them on each side and cut down the middle, then they'll be nice and safe. And if you have one of these juicers, it works really well. You can just put it in here and squeeze your lime juice into the bowl. This is going to help your avocado stay green and not turn brown. So that half had quite a bit of juice in it, so that's probably going to be enough for these. Some limes have less juice, so you might need the whole thing. This one's also pretty big. If you don't have one of these lemon squeezer, you can just squeeze it with your hand, but you might want to strain it because the seeds will come out when you squeeze it like that. But you can just squeeze it with your hand like that. And if you don't have limes, lemons are just as good. I've done both lemons and limes, and I don't really notice a huge difference. Okay, now I'm gonna chop up my tomato. And I have a Roma tomato, but any fresh tomato will work just fine for this. So I'm just cutting out the little part where the stem was. And I'm just gonna slice this into little squares, little bite-sized squares. So what I like to do is cut it into long strips first, and then go back and cut those into smaller squares, keeping my fingers away from the blade. So when I make guacamole, I don't usually measure. I just kind of see how much, depending on how big my avocados are and how much I'm making. So if I don't like a lot of tomato, I could leave it like that. I like tomato, so I'm going to add the other half. But I kind of stirred it together first to see how it would look before deciding if I wanted to use this other half. Okay, then I'm going to add some onion. If you don't like onion, you don't have to add it. It's traditionally one of the ingredients in guacamole, but I know not everybody likes raw onion, so you could leave it out if you want. So I have kind of a weird piece here, but just like with the tomato, I want to slice it into little bite-sized pieces. So I just sliced it long ways, and then I'm going to cut them into really little tiny pieces. And then I'm going to add some garlic. So if you like a lot of garlic, you can add a lot. You don't want to overdo it, but I know some people, including myself, like a lot of garlic. So I'm just going to peel my garlic. One easy way to peel this is to put a spoon over it and press down with the heel of my hand. And then I should be able to get the skin off really easily. And then I could either chop this up really small, or if you have a garlic press, you can just put it in there and squeeze it out, and it'll come out in really small little pieces, perfect for guacamole. This is where all those kitchen gadgets come in really handy. So now I'm going to add some salt and pepper. And if you don't like pepper, you don't have to add it, but you definitely want to add some salt. And I'm going to add a little bit of ground cumin. And then my fresh cilantro, so I'm going to use my handy dandy herb cutting scissors again. If you don't have these, you should get a pair, but you could just use a knife to slice it up and then add it. But these work so well. Okay, so now I'm going to mix this all together. Make sure all my ingredients get stirred in. And then I could eat it like this, or if I want to make it a little bit spicier, I can add either some jalapeno or a habanero would work. If you're adding hot peppers, you don't want to touch them with your hands. Once they're cut, they'll get some other juices on your hands that are very spicy, and they can burn your hands, and if you touch your face or anything else, then it can burn you. So I would recommend either wearing gloves, or if you can just hold onto the stem and just cut the very end. Also, if you use the seeds, it's going to add a lot more spice, so you might want to take the seeds out unless you like it really, really spicy. And I can smell how spicy this is, so I'm going to try to stay back from this and not touch it. If you don't want to deal with the jalapeno, you could also just use some powdered cayenne pepper to add some spice to it. And then you don't have to run the risk of touching the spicy jalapeno. So kids, you might want to have your mom or dad help you if you put jalapeno in your guacamole. Okay, so my guacamole is all mixed together. It's ready to eat. So I can either just use chips and dip it in there and eat it on chips as a dip. If I make tacos or enchiladas, I can use it as a topping. I can just make some toast and spread it on the toast and eat it like that. I am going to want to eat it within like 1 or 2 days of making it. Guacamole does not save very well, so it's best to just make it and eat it right away. If you have a little bit left over, the best way to do it is try to store it in like a tall, thin container and put a layer of lime juice over the top, and then right before you eat it, you can stir it all together. But this is not something you want to try to make ahead of time. You want to just make it and eat it fresh. So happy guacamole making, and I hope you like this video.